Welcome back to Takeout. A quick check of your calendar. Less than 1 week away from the very closely watched, some might say obsessively watched, Democratic Senate primary in Michigan between Haley Stevens and Abdul. Joining us now to discuss this and a lot more Michigan stuff, Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Dingell. Congresswoman, always great to have you on the show. I know you're not endorsing in the Senate Democratic primary. That's your right. But can the party, do you think, whatever the outcome, come back together and keep this seat in Democratic hands because it's being handed off by Gary Peters, who's not seeking re-election?
Good afternoon. It's always good to see you. I like it better when we're talking restaurants, but this is what I'm going to say to you, Garrett. We have no choice. We have to come together. And the energy that you are seeing in this primary is people that know that we have got to stand up to what we have seen happen in Washington since President Trump became president. So I'm not going to say that the day after the election isn't going to have intense emotional feelings, but we are all going to have to come together to keep this Senate seat Democratic.
You know Dearborn a lot better than I do, but I was there in 2024, and I talked to Democrats who said, yeah, I know the have to part, but I'm not gonna, because they were upset about the Middle East. They were upset about Israel, and they didn't show up in Michigan, and Trump won.
So I'm going to tell you, I've talked to many people from Dearborn. Some did end up coming out, leaving the uncommitted and supporting the vice president, but they know what's at stake. They are hurting. And I'm going to tell you what's the most important issue to people right now, what they know that we have to stand up to is fighting for a more affordable America. And if you're in Dearborn, if you're in the Upper Peninsula, if you're downriver that I represent, everybody is talking about the cost of groceries, the cost of gas, the cost of housing, and they're also talking about health care. And too many people have lost health care. They can't afford to go to the doctor. They can't afford their medicine. And the big bad bill, which also, for the record, got food assistance, is and SNAP. People are scared, hurt, and worried. And the larger issue is affordability. Michigan is a complex state. We have people that come from significant Jewish backgrounds. Yes, I lived in Dearborn. These are my friends, but in the end, they've got to come together to stand up to what we are seeing, a war in Iran right now, among other issues.
In 2016, you were kind enough to pull me aside and say Trump looked formidable to you in Michigan and other parts of the upper Midwest, and that you considered his skills better than being appreciated at the time by leading Democrats. Do you still believe that? And when you saw him in Michigan earlier this week, do you think he's as formidable as he used to be?
No, I'm going to tell you. I mean, I did. You know that. I said it to you months before he won Michigan, that I was in those labor halls. I heard him talking. He was appealing to working men and women. He understood their issues, and Democrats weren't talking about the issues that matter to them. I'll tell you, I've talked to a lot of people that supported President Trump, what'll be 2 years in November, who are hurting. They were talking about affordability 2 years ago, but they didn't think that they would see the cost of gasoline go up. Young people are worried that we're going to end up in a war, and are they potentially going to be drafted? Well, auto workers, I mean, our relationship with Canada has always been a prized relationship between our two countries. We've supported each other in the auto industry. Auto workers are worried about their jobs. And when he talked about trade in 2016, they thought he was going to fight for them. But even now, he's getting softer on China than people thought he might have been. So there's not to say that they're not still Trump supporters here, but this administration, this 4-year term is far different than the 2016 term.
It's not definite, as you know, but the DNC is moving closer to a new 2028 primary calendar. Michigan more prominent than it has been. Give me your sense of Michigan's role in the next nominee for the Democratic Party.
Well, as you know, Garrett, I was part of that rules committee, and I don't think you look at one state, you look at the first 6 states that we voted on last week and will vote at the DNC meeting. They're reflective of the Democratic, of quite frankly, the country. And if you look at each state, it represents the different regions of the country. It represents all of the demographics. I do think it's important that there be We have two large states now that are going to be in this, Michigan and Virginia, larger states, but there's still states that you can campaign in. And I quite frankly feel very strongly that the issues that you just talked about, which are going to be issues in October, need to be part of the early primary system so that you hear how candidates are going to talk about them and deal with them. So it's not a crisis in October that costs us an election. We see people who understand how people on all sides are hurting and how you're going to talk about it.
Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, I appreciate